Um, I wrote down, and Mike, you can take this. So you hired some people on your team. Um, did you still struggle being the bottleneck in your business, even though you hired 10, 15, 20 people on your team? And what mistakes came as you continue to try to build and grow? And how did you fix them?
Before I answer that, going back to the values thing, Stacey, I totally agree with hiring and also freeing up someone to do another role. Values have been crucial. Something we implemented a year ago, not to say you have to use this product, but it's called 15-5. And it lets the team shout out other members of the team of saying like, hey, Stacy did this really cool thing that represented X value. Like, I appreciate you. And it made it so it wasn't coming from like the leaders or you're the boss at a monthly meeting. Like, here's the values. Like, people are constantly living it in that channel. And we get so many a day. And it's like when I'm having a shitty day, I love going into that channel because it just, yeah, it's cool.
One of my clients did gratitude bombs.
What's that?
Literally get a picture, a cutout, and you can write on there and put a gratitude bomb on someone's desk, or you could do it through Slack. Same thing. It's that appreciation and gratitude towards people that isn't always just coming from the top. It's coming from sideways, even upways. So
That's
I love
all.
that. Great stuff, Mike.
Mistakes. I mean, I make mistakes every day. One of the things we start our leadership calls now with is like, what Legos did you give up this week? Um, Me and my partner, it's two families in the business. It's my family and my partner's family who I grew up with, and we're all pretty prideful people. And we have to give up one Lego a week of a responsibility we had. Um, and we try to encourage our team leads underneath us to start the meetings the same way. Like, this is what I'm giving up as a manager to my team lead. Um, the mistakes is not giving up Legos fast enough is really for me it is holding on to something too long and then it becomes so blatantly clear that it's a giant problem that it could have been solved 2 months ago. Yeah, I don't know if that answers
But
your
where
question.
do you think that for you, where do you think that comes from? I mean, is it a pride? Is it, I mean, you say ego, but I mean, all of those are a little vague. I mean, is there something like deeper? Is it something, kind of the Brene Brown-ish of things? Like, I just feel like I don't feel myself as valuable. I feel people will look at me differently if they don't see me, quote, doing anything. Like, these are all the things that not only I've told myself in the past, but I've had tons of people tell me this. Was it like that for you, or is it something else?
I mean, you mentioned people pleaser. I can definitely associate with that. I think it's like showing my value and like I can show that by just working hours on hours and not giving things up and just
Hmm.
um trying to give you a clear answer, but I really think that's it. Like
I think you did. I mean, I wrote it down. I mean, showing your value. How do you show your value? You work more. I mean, how many of us grew up with work hard? That's what's going to lead to the success and enjoyment and happiness of your life. Just got to work hard. We all know that's not true. Working hard, yes, there's going to be times where we need to actually work, but that's not the thing. That's not everything. Mike had to work really hard to get it started. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, 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 you got other people now. You just can't keep doing everything yourself. Because then you start to buck up to the people that you hire. And the first thing they're going to do is back away and say, well, you're the owner. You go for it. And if you're in a small business and you're the owner flying around, it's not that they're not capable. They're just going to watch you. It's your
Well, Jamie,
show. Yeah, go
you know,
ahead.
and even if you hire people, but you're still being the point person, you're still owning everything. They will all let you do that because that's what you're communicating. You want them to do is to let you own everything, and they will.
And here's the trap. You then say, well, if I didn't do it, they would do it. They're just watching me do it. That's the, what's it called? The word of paradox?
Delegation doesn't work. I've tried delegation before. Well, maybe, but you did it ineffectively. You have to give people the space to do their job. You have to delegate responsibility and authority, not tasks.
And this is a huge risk that we take as business owners. Mike, you had to take this risk. I had to take this risk. Everyone on the call had to take this risk if you have anyone working for you. And the risk is this person isn't you. They're not going to do it like you do. None of that. You have to give them and help them and work with them and support them and allow them to find their own way. And you got to care about them enough to allow that to happen. And if they hit a guardrail too much, you bring back some support. But if it's like, I told them what to do, they didn't do it, but you're too busy over here dealing with the 13 things you're trying to do, you're really not being fair to them. But it's hard for us to look in the mirror. It's easy to look at other people and blame. And that might be some of the people on this call, that might be the sticking point that you're having from that next level growth. In fact, I'm going to say for many of you, that is the sticking point, and it's just to what degree. I love the Legos thing I wrote down. I might be stealing that. Let's see. Let's talk about emotional hurdles. Fear, guilt, perfectionism. We mentioned it before. Steve, I'll kind of go to you on this. When you see that with some of the people that you've spoken to and worked with, what are the emotional hurdles? Like what is like one or two that you see time and time again that from your positioning just seems to be something that is preventing someone from just an amazing evolution of their business and their life? And what have you done? This is your time to just kind of coach us. What are some of the things that you have done to help people recognize that and then actually do something about it that's going to shift their results?
You know, a big one I hear is guilt. I feel guilty. I feel guilty for not working alongside my therapist. I feel guilty for thinking of myself as the boss and them as an employee. You know, they're my colleagues. Or I feel super uncomfortable, so I go back to where I can be successful. I'm really good at, you know, being the therapist, doing the marketing, whatever that is. And those are all things that hold us back because we stay where we are. As an owner, you got to be really good at sucking at something, because that means you're stepping into a place you don't know how to do it, which means you're leading. You are the one with the machete cutting the trail for everyone else. By definition, you are going to be uncomfortable if you're doing your job, because as soon as you figure something out, you are passing that off to somebody else, and you are leading into and leaning into what you have to do. And so get comfortable, get good at being uncomfortable, and you're going to start watching your business grow. And guilt, would you feel guilty if you knew that by stepping out of that role and letting somebody step in, they could get a raise and they could buy a house? I've seen that happen. I've seen where somebody said, you know what, I'm going to step out of this role, allowed a director to step up into it. The business supported a raise. This person now qualified for loan and got a house. Would you feel guilty knowing that you're staying in their role because you don't want to be uncomfortable and therefore they can't get a house? You're creating opportunity. And I think that's the thing that you have to, it's a shift, Jamey. It's shifting how you view yourself and your role. Is you're creating opportunity. Everybody else, that's your job, not being the best therapist in the clinic.
So I look at this as 3 traps. it's the DIY trap, the do-it-yourself trap, and then the trap that the team trap, right? We get into this trap where we hire people, but we still stay in the role that we stay in. And these people do not expand to their capabilities. We don't provide clear direction, as we talked about. And the third trap you're alluding to is this identity trap. And the identity trap is how you see yourself. And I want to get some people, and I'm going to pick on you in a second, Julie, so you just be prepared. But I want to talk to Mike about you because, you know, you have grown leaps and bounds, you know, because you're a technology company. The growth just probably seems like it's like, you know, moving at light speed. How have you handled, like, maybe you see yourself the same, perhaps, but other people sure don't see you as just I think I met you when you were 25 or something, you know, kid trying to figure out all the stuff, and you have 4 or 5 people working. I mean, you know, other people aren't seeing you. Like, how are you leaning into that new identity as your business continues to grow and evolve?
I mean, I went from being a producer to now learning management, which I'm a lot better at produce. I'm still, I mean, we're always learning, but I feel a lot more comfortable on a meeting pitching prompt than I do necessarily like on an all hands meeting with the team going through things. I guess just leaning into when I don't want to do something, because that's typically when I really have to do something and spend time there. But I mean, yeah, it's
How do you have any other kind of tools, tricks, or things that, I mean, I have lots of different things that I do to support me and my craziness and my thoughts and my all that stuff and my emotional swings that are like, you know, minute by minute sometimes, that of course no one here sees because I'm doing all this other work. Do you do any kind of self-regulating, like, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable?
Facebook. I see you in the float tank.
Oh, float tank. I can't get enough of the float tank, and you know, there's more than that. But what are, you know, what about you? Like, what are you doing to, A, how do you recognize that when you're being pushed, and B, then what do you do? Like, take us like specifically in the world of Mike.
Yeah, I guess like when I feel trapped and I don't know what to do, and I'll just sit in that. And I've been doing a lot better with like reaching out to other people that have lived. Like I've been doing more networking with people in the tech space that are ahead of me, of like, hey, what do you think of this? And not that they're making the decision for me, but it's a data point that helps me make a decision faster. And then obviously self-care. It's like trying to not tie my entire identity to the success of prompt and building relationships outside of work. And
You know, something that I talked about during COVID, that I'm talking about now during this whatever shit show we're dealing with, is double down on self-care. Double down on you, because you're the most important person in your business. You make everything go. You're literally responsible for everybody else in your company. And as you go, they go. It's a lot of responsibility, but this is what we signed up for. And having space for you to just be is critical. It's almost like when things get really crazy, that's when you call timeout. I mean, it happens in sports. I'm a big sports guy, basketball. When things get crazy in basketball, coach calls a timeout and says, let's settle down. And then we don't do this often enough. We go faster. Things get crazy, we go more, because that's what we know how to do. We work harder, we work longer. And what I encourage each of you to do, and whoever will be listening, is do the opposite. Call yourself a timeout. Float tank, massage, read, just take a walk, like get your thoughts together, because those next decisions that you're going to make are going to have an effect 6 months, a year, sometimes years down the road. be mindful of the decisions that you're going to be making right now. They mean a lot to a lot of people. And I believe that we can be very cavalier in the quick-wittedness decisions that we make in a high emotional state, right? We're all familiar with the saying, you know, when emotion is high, intelligence is low. We've all done things and said things when we're in a high emotional state that when we come out of it, we didn't mean. The problem is when you have a business, those things just don't go away in 2 seconds. You might have said things to team members or whatever, or clients or potential referral partners or whatever, that you moved on, but they haven't. And I think that that is a huge one, especially when the tension is high. So one, I think, Mike, what you said is when I start to recognize, what'd you say, feeling trapped?
Paralysis.
You feel trapped. You feel like, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. You immediately look for outside help, which I just absolutely agree with. Outside help with a coach, obviously, outside help with a group that you trust. You know, I don't say support group, but like a, you know, maybe mini mastermind group, something like that. But definitely getting that outside perspective from people that you can trust. Facebook groups, I'm in a ton of Facebook groups. Be really careful. You know, everyone loves giving advice. Unfortunately, I know for a fact, so many people that I see giving advice, I'm like shaking my head. I go, you haven't done that. They're just giving advice, stuff that they haven't done. They haven't fully experienced. So be careful when you look at that. But Steve, any thoughts that you could provide with you know, that spacing and that what happens when that identity really starts to, you know, you're going to another level when you start to question that and it starts to feel really comfortable, especially when you start leaning into that, I'm truly an owner. Like when someone asks you, what do you do? I remember this day, Jamey, what do you do? And I didn't say I'm a physical therapist. I said, well, I own a rehab company. I own a PT company. I'm a business owner. What kind of business? I'm in physical therapy. Like when I said that, I was nervous and it sounded stupid. But I said it more and said it more, and I started to believe it. I'm a business owner.
I think that's huge. I think you're owning that space. And one of the things that I try and move people towards is these ideas that you're an investor. You invest your time, your talents, your passions into things that are meaningful to you. And currently that might be your business, but you're an investor. You're not the physical therapist. You're not even the day-to-day operator. You're an investor. And so when you do that, it gives you the space to be able to say, how do I want to invest my resources, and where do I want to create meaning and do good? And you can do that in your business. You can do that through community service or whatever it is that's important to you. And, we've all been through that. I remember when I kind of made that shift from being a clinician to being into business and the business of healthcare. I don't know how many conversations I had at home, to the point where they're like, we don't want to hear it anymore, of why did I go into physical therapy if I'm not going to be treating patients? And the reality is I went into physical therapy because I wanted to have an impact on the world and do good. I've just chosen and found a lot of different ways in which to do that. And that frees me up to create opportunity. I think the other thing, Jamey, is challenge your thoughts. Challenge the way you're thinking. Does it have to be this way? Is there a different way I can see myself and still feel good about who I am and what I do? And I think when you get into that headspace where you're stuck, go out and do something that grounds you. Go exercise. Go get a referral for a float tank from Jamey.
Yeah.
I worked with somebody that says I go out every morning and I brush my horse. And I said, why is that? And she says, because it grounds me for the rest of the day. And I said, then great. That's executive work. That's part of your job, is to go brush your horse, because it puts you in a headspace where you can be impactful and not just busy.